Man, I remember you saying that that was possible. Uh, you buy a barrel for the 4570 and just somehow pin that into the 303 British action or something?
Oh no. You have to get the barrel reamer and you chuck that up in your lathe, and then you go and you cut the new chamber into it with a 45 caliber um, rifle barrel, but you put a new chamber in it, and then you recess the but the face of the barrel to where the case head will fit inside there, and you'll have then you cut the groove for the extractor for the bolt, and then you have a bolt action 4570, and that's what I'm wanting to build.
Now, if I remember right, a 4570 travels anywhere between 1600 and 2200 feet per second.
Right, you can use the same loads. You can use the same loads in that bolt action Lee Enfield in 4570 as the Ruger number one loads, which you can go and push a 405 grain bullet 2,200 feet per second.
That's pretty impressive. Uh, Now I was thinking because I don't know why I always compare the 4570 to a 500 Smith and Wesson Magnum and a 44 Magnum, but like a 44 Mag was only moving out at like 1200 feet per second, isn't it? 13.
Oh, you can load a 200 and let's see 240 grain bullet. You can push that out at 1,400 feet per second. I don't like to go that hot. I like a little bit less snap, but better accuracy.
Okay.
So I don't push to 1,400. I run about 1,250 feet per second, and that gives me the it just not the nasty recoil. It'll kick you, but it's not that brutal recoil. And my standard load is a 310 grain flat nose bullet in 44 Magnum, moving out right at 1,200 feet per second. So at 1,200 feet per second with that 300 grain bullet, it hits like a freight train.
Oh man, I used to love 44 Mag when I was a young guy, and now all I shoot it in is that lever gun I've got, and it seems like the most comfortable round for me is that 357 Magnum. Like I used to even have a 454 Casull, and gosh, it just I don't know why, but I presently I just really love that 357 Magnum, especially because I can go to any estate sale where some old guy has died, and I can buy garbage bags of 357 Magnum for nothing, and a shoebox full of
Oh,
reloaded stuff.
38 special. You know, a lot of people poo poo the 38 special, but, it gets the job done. And it's done it for years.
Man, I wish they loaded it hot because I get so frustrated when I look at the load capacity of a 38 special versus a 9 millimeter Luger, and I'm like, man, that Luger should not be hotter than that 38 special.
Well, it comes down to how it's loaded. Um, with having basically, you have pretty much a similar load inside there. I use a faster burning load. I use either Winchester 231 powder, or I use what is that called? It's tight group, and that's a really fast powder. And the reason I use that is it burns clean. Like I got really enamored by H110, and it's the greatest powder, man. You get such performance out of it. But I'd go out and shoot my stainless steel gun, and by the time I got done, the gun was black. It just, you had so much soot from that powder that it wasn't worth it. So I went to 231 initially, and then I started getting good deals on cans of tight group. So I started shooting tight group. You got to run your loads have to be quite a bit lower in the tight group than you were with the 231, because it burns faster and gives you a higher pressure with less powder.
You want to say hi to Bob?
Use that. How's it going, kiddo?
Huh? You can stay up. Well, it depends on what Mom says. Oh, no, Mom says you got to let Mason. Did you say hi to Bob?
Yeah. This is what I carry in my 357 when I'm just. This is one of them.
You gotta listen, Mason.
Well, there's two of them. They're two different. This here is my 125 grain hollow point. Now, if I want just a personal defense round, I use 110 grain hollow point. Look at that hollow point in there.
Yeah, hollow points out of a 357 mag are brutal, man. That's what, a couple of years ago, I showed you that scoped Blackhawk 357 mag I have. Oh, you got a variety.
I've got speed loaders for my 7-shot Taurus.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, remember that Ruger Blackhawk I showed you with the scope on it?
Yeah.
Dude, I took that thing and I put the crosshairs on the head of that deer that I saw in that field and pulled the trigger, and at 90 yards the bullet dropped far enough that I hit him in the chest and blew his chest out. Oh, that's
125. That's 125 grain 38 special. And that's loaded at about 1,000 feet per second. You know, I keep the pressures low on my 38 specials, but yeah, this is my little 5-shot. Rossi.
nice.
Yeah. And it's just a good little, throw in your pocket and go gun.
Man, you know that 357 Magnum, for as much smaller than a 44 mag as it is, that thing sure does perform.
Oh, yeah. I have a 357. I love it. It's a it's a workhorse. You know. In
Yeah.
fact, let's see. Yesterday I went and I started out the day carrying my Glock, and then later in the day I decided, well, I'll just grab my I want to put my 357 on, so I carried the 357 for the rest of the day, and I love it. 7 shots of 357 Magnum.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, that 357 mag is become my favorite pistol round from over the years. But I know you're not a fan of the 357 Sig, but man, I love that one too. You know, uh,
I get the same velocities of a 357 Sig out of a 9 millimeter.
yeah,
I don't see the point.
yeah. I don't know. I like having the options. Like I can change from my 40 cal to my 357 Sig, and
I can change from my 40 cal to my 9 millimeter. This right here is 124 grain Hornady XTP and in 9 millimeter, and I'm loading it at let's see, 4.3 grains of tight group, and it's putting that bullet out at 1150 to 1200 feet per second. So it's almost a 357 Magnum or a 357 Sig
uh,
out of a 9 millimeter.
yeah. Well, what's the 357 Sig is moving out at what was it 1400 feet per second?
Yeah, but that's pushing it. 1400. But I just between the difference between 12 and 1400 isn't that great when you get down to the smaller calibers. Between the like 124 grain bullet moving out at 1200 and the difference between 1200 and 1400, you're not gaining that much. And actually, you're losing penetration at 1400 because the bullet will actually disintegrate at that velocity. Whereas the 9 millimeter will hold together better and actually travel farther.
Uh, Man, they should have thought about that before when they create a new caliber. Like, man, I've been seeing stuff on the shelves lately that I never even heard of, like that 224 Valkyrie.
Yeah. Well, 223 Valkyrie is the 6.8 SPC neck down to 224. So what you've done is you got a bigger diameter case, and then it is still 22 caliber. But what you're doing is you're over accelerating 223, so it starts getting unstable and it over it overpowers the bullet. So when it hits, the bullet explodes basically rather than penetrate.
Oh,
So that's the problem I see with the 224 If I want a faster bullet that's more devastating, I will step up to a little bit bigger bullet and not overtax a 22 caliber bullet.
yeah, like the 6.5 Grendel.
I would be in on the 6.5 Randall or the 350 Legend. I mean, the 350 Legend is putting out a 200 grain bullet at 2,200 feet per second.
And I gotta say, there's one AR round that I was looking at that makes me want to get an AR. That 500 Beowulf. I compared that thing the other day side by side to a 500 Smith and Wesson Magnum, and besides the rim, they are identical. But I don't know if the ballistics are identical.
That's pretty close. But I would wait on that because there's a company coming out with what's called the 500 SOCOM, and
Oh,
what they've done is they've taken the 458 SOCOM and made it back into a straight wall, and it's 50 cal, but it has the same uh, powder area as the 458 SOCOM, which is even more than the 500 Beowulf or the 500 Smith and Wesson.
oh my gosh. Yeah, dude, because I shoot that 500 Smith and Wesson Magnum out of my single shot NEF, and that thing blows my shoulder back out of a rifle. I couldn't imagine shooting that out of a pistol. I don't know how those guys don't break their arm.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm a fan, and I own one of the 458 SOCOM. The 458 SOCOM hits like a freight train, and it's just, I mean, it is a 4570 in a AR-15 platform.
That sounds unbeatable. I love it.
Well, one thing that Roy and I are working on is we're looking at building an AR-10 that is chambered in 450 Marlin.
Wow.
450 Marlin. It's a rimless belted 4570 basically,
Wow.
but shot out of an AR-10.
And
You ever seen a 458 SOCOM?
oh yeah, yeah. I love that. That just by looking at it, I like it.
Yeah, well, I have all the dies for making it, and I cast bullets for it too. I cast a 405 grain bullet that I shoot out of my AR-15.
Man.
I refer to my 458 SOCOM as Thumper.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've
It's
always,
with authority.
man, I love the AR-15. But it's funny because I was having a discussion with a group of guys online in a chat room, and we were talking about AK-47s and AR-15s, and this guy says, "Well, an AK-47 is a piece of crap." And so I said, "Hey, listen, man, I've owned three of them: a Bulgarian, a Czechoslovakian, and an Egyptian. And they're simple. It's a spring in a tin can, but it is anything but a piece of crap." Uh, I was telling him how I had lost mine because our canoe tipped over and it fell in the mud in Kelly Slough. And it took me an hour to find it. But when I found that thing, I wanted to see if all the legends were true, and I didn't clean it out. I just shot it, and it blew moss, mud, and sprayed water out of that thing, and it just unloaded the clip like nobody's business. And man, people were saying, "Oh, it's inaccurate," but dude, 200-yard target, I could group those shots in there like that, open sights with that thing.
Yeah, yeah, but the thing is, an AR-15 at the same distance will group like that.
Oh yeah, I understand that. It's just because your tolerances are so much tighter, you have to give here to gain here. But one thing I always wondered about an AR-15 is if you buried it in that same mud, the way I did that AK, would it have been able to do what that AK did?
No, because an AK is a shovel that happens to fire 7.62 by 39. That AK is a gun designed that you could actually hand to apes and they would be able to fire it and clean it and care for it.
That's why I've always loved that gun, man. That gun will forever.
That is typical Russian engineering.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Russian women. Russian women are built close to the ground and wide and stout. With an AK-47.
Oh man. Well,
it's a shovel that you can that happens to shoot.
yeah.
I mean, an AK-47 as a mud depth gauge, and it'll still fire 7.62 by 39.
Oh man. Yeah, that gun is amazing, man. I had that. I've had mine. I had it like I told you in the mud, but I also had it when we got stranded. Me and my buddy Roy, we were four-wheel driving up on the border of Oregon and California in the mountains there, and we were stuck up there for 4 days, and I had ice, from condensation on my AK, and it didn't affect it one bit, man. Nothing affects that gun.
You got to consider Russia is a huge place. It has Arctic tundra all the way down to primordial forest. So I mean they have loose tolerances. They're not a precision weapon. They're not a precision tool, but they work. If you want a more precision tool, pick up a Dragunov. It's going to be more accurate.
Yeah. Oh man, you just opened. I love that 7.62 by 54, man. I used to love, even though the Nagant, like that Mosin Nagant, you could get some that were pieces of crap, but they had certain runs of that rifle that were way higher quality. Some of them weren't made in Soviet Union. Some of them were like, gosh, I can't remember the other countries that made that gun, but I had actually gotten a really nice quality carbine chambered in that round.
Which model of the Mosin and the Gant was the best one? Which country it came from? Finland.
I didn't even know they made one.
Yeah, well, the Finns were constantly fighting with the Russians, And when they went to decide to adopt a rifle, they said, hey, screw it. We got Russians that come in here all the time. Let's just adopt a Mosin Nagant. When they come in here, we'll steal their ammo and use it against them. They had the best Mosin Nagant. I mean, it was the most accurate rifle. I mean, the sniper with the highest kill count was Sumo Hayek, who was in Finland, and he just decimated the Russians. The Russians decided, hey, we're going after the Germans right now, so hey, let's go take over Finland too. And they paid dearly for going into Finland, because their snipers were just second to none, and they would steal the Russian ammo and use it against the Russians.
Is that guy they called the White Death?
The guy they called the White Death. He had a real messed up face because he took a shot in the jaw when he was, sniping. But the dude was just unbelievable for, he had, I think it was close to 1,000 kills on Russians in Finland.
Oh.
I mean, he was a sniping machine.
Man, well, it's a good thing he never ran into Yuri Zaitsov.
I think he would have taken Yuri Zaitsov out.
Man.
This guy was a master of fieldcraft as well.
That's probably he didn't get killed ever, huh?
Nope, he got shot once, but he was caught by volley fire. Basically, they just went and shot at the whole hillside where he was stalking him, and he ended up getting caught by a stray round.
Wow.
It wasn't by aim fire.
I wonder if that would count as.
But he survived it. That's what's amazing.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy.
Yuri Zaitsev, that was in Stalingrad. That was, building to building and close quarters, really. He never had any really long shots because it was in a urban environment. Whereas Sumo Hayek, he was shooting long distance in forest and woods and in the snow.
Man.
And they got tired of sending snipers to go after him. The Russians did, because he would kill Russian snipers by the bushel.
Yeah, I thought he killed some Nazis though too.
He was it was the Russian invasion that he was involved in.
Oh,
but
okay.
The Russians ended up overwhelming Finland and took it over for a while. And then after the war, they were forced to give it back.
What did the United Nations end up stepping in on that?
Yeah, I think so. They said, hey, you guys invaded Finland. You took advantage of the situation. That's no bueno, boys. But the Mosin Nagant is a cheaply made rifle. It's cheap steel in the receiver. It's cheap in the action, but they always put their money in the barrel. That's why that rifle was so accurate. But I mean, you pull the, you open a bolt and Mosin again, and it's like, dragging a piano across a gravel parking lot.
Yeah.
And you got to wrestle that thing. It's not like you take a Mauser or a 1903 Springfield. You just take your thumb and you go, and it's just buttery, glassy, smooth.
Oh yeah.
You do that nose, and it's like, ugh, yeah, ugh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're slamming that thing together.
You know that the one bolt action that I used to own that I really liked was the Enfield, because when you lift the bolt, it's got a spring that boink, springs that bolt back on its own.
Yeah. Well, not after you fire it. After you fire it, it releases that spring, and you gotta bring it back, and you cock it, and you push it forward, and then you hit the catch, and then you gotta push against the spring to lock it down. It's the same thing with your 1896 Mauser. It's a cock on closing, not cock on opening.
Yeah. The one that took me a while to figure out though is that the Steyr Mannlicher, where you just go straight back and forth. It took me a while to figure out how that thing works, but that thing was pretty cool. I owned one for a couple years.
Steyr Mannlicher, or are you talking about the Schmidt-Rubin?
No, not the Schmidt-Rubin. The Steyr that was chambered in that bastard 8mm. It was a police round for the Nazis.
Well, I found a website or a YouTube channel that you'd probably really like. It's called I think C&R Arsenal, and they actually shoot those odd bolt action and straight pull rifles and stuff, and then they talk about them and they collect them. So it's a good website, you know.
Well, and
a good website to show your daughter, because the gal that the person that does all the firing of all the different weapons is a gal, and she's just like really knowledgeable and really cool.
All right. Well, you know what my favorite bastard caliber is?
6.5 Swede.
That 7.65 by 53 Argentine, man. I actually love that round.
There ain't nothing wrong with that round. That round was ahead of its time. It wasn't until the 308 came into existence that round game is like, well, crap, they were getting the same ballistics and everything else, the 308 back, with the Argentine Mauser, so it was really kind of ahead of its time.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's why I built that rifle. I built that scout rifle out of that thing, because I mean it drops like a rock, but after 200 yards, but before 200 yards or 250 yards, that thing's pretty dang accurate.
I'm thinking about I'm going to be buying two what is it called? The Craig Jorgensen rifles. I'm getting two of those from Roy. One has a messed up magazine, and the other one has a shot out barrel. So I was talking about that with JP, and JP's going, hey, he goes, I'll take the one with the shot out barrel. We can rebarrel that thing. And I was like, cool. So I think I'm gonna make that rifle into a scout rifle in 30-40 Craig.
Nice. That's that one. I don't know if I showed you that 30-40 Craig I had.
What you gave to Larry?
Yeah, yeah, but I can't remember the make and the model on it. It was just an old.
It was Springfield. It
Oh,
was built by Springfield Armory. It's the 30-40 1898 Craig Jorgensen rifle. That's what it is.
oh,
Yeah, and it's a good rifle. The locking lugs were on the back of the bolt, but it wasn't the greatest round, but it was the first smokeless round for the U.S. military. And if you load that with a 150 grain bullet and good powder, you can get near 30-06 velocities out of it.
wow.
It is that first generation tapered smokeless cartridge. And see, after that, they realized, hey, you know what? Even with these smokeless rounds, we don't have to taper that case so much. We can make it more of a straight walled case and then neck it down. And that's when the 30-06 was developed in 1903. It was the 3003 then. And they still had ballistics problems with it. And that's when they went and they changed the throat and hold for a sec. They changed the throating of it a little bit, and they went to a Spitzer bullet at 150 grains, and that's when it became the 30-06, and that's when it became such a hot round. But before that, they had longer case neck, and for some reason, a long case neck will tend to give you lower velocities at a higher pressure. But the cutting of the case neck down gave it a higher velocity with lower pressure.
Wow.
And that's what the 30-06 became.
It's a great caliber, man.
I'm a big fan of 30-06. I mean, the only way I would jump up to something bigger would be going to a 300 Win mag, because the 30-06 and 300 Win mag are the same exact length. The only difference is the 300 Win mag is bigger around. It has a larger case diameter.
Well,
That's the only difference.
that 30-06 parent cartridge, the from that rifle or that cartridge, I really like two other cartridges, the 35 Wheelin and the 270. Yep. And that's only two of many.
Well, the thing is, the way I look at it is the 30-06 is close to perfection. So why mess with perfection?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know,
I
man.
can shoot out of a 30-06. I can shoot 100 grain bullets all the way up to 220 grain bullets with the same caliber, and they make every weight in between. So technically, you can hunt not small game, but medium-sized game with a 100-grain bullet, and then you can put a 220-grain bullet, and you can actually hunt African game with it.
Wow.
So that's the versatility of the 30-06. I have yet to see a cartridge as versatile as a 30-06.
What about the one that's not as versatile, but the one that flies probably the best is the 6.5 Swede.
Well, I have a 6.5 Swede.
so do I.
6.5 Swede.
What's that?
6.5 Swede. The reason why the 6.5 Swede is so accurate and so consistent is because of the length to diameter of that bullet. The bullet is way longer than its diameter. And so that gives it more bearing surface in the barrel. And then once it gets into flight, it stabilizes better in the wind at supersonic speeds. So basically, it's supersonic, it's long, and it is supersonically stabilized because that longer bullet to its diameter. So it's like shooting a crossbow bolt, practically. It just comes out of there and just so flat trajectory because of its diameter to length. That's what makes that a special round. And they're trying to do the same thing with the 6.5 Creedmoor, but the 6.5 by 55 Swede actually has more case volume than the 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm just like, what's the deal with that Creedmoor, man? That all it was they tried to improve something that was already done to perfection.
The only thing I could say that would make the 6.5 Swede better is if you made it a 6.5 Swede acely improved, which means you make it a steeper shoulder instead of it tapering at an angle. Make it a steeper shoulder where it just has a small taper where it goes from the cartridge case to the neck of the cartridge, and that'll give it more volume inside to where you could load it hotter. So if you made it a 6.5 acely improved, you would have so much more velocity than a Creedmoor or any of the other 6.5s that wouldn't even be funny. The one I would like to do is a 6.5 06, which is the 30-06 neck down to the 6.5 cartridge or bullet.
Yeah. Well, have you heard of the? I'm sure you know about the 6.5 Norma Magnum. I think that's called the 224 Magnum. Is that right?
Yeah. Roy has one. He has the 224, and he also has a 264. And there's the 264. I think it's 264 Remington mag, which is the 30-06 neck down to the 6.5.
Wow. And that thing has got to be screaming out of the end of that barrel.
You're pushing a 140 grain bullet out of that barrel at right around 4,000 feet per second.
Man, I hope they're gaining enough trajectory out of that rifle to make it worth the
Oh yeah. Well, the problem is then you start having a short barrel life. Once you get much over 3,000 seconds, you start eroding barrels out.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy.
So I went, and my loading for my 30-06 is a 165 grain Hornady. What is it? It's the Hornady. It's a hunting round. I can't remember the exact name. It's the Hornady soft one, but it has match performance, and I run it with I run 46 grains of powder of IMR 4320, and it will group a dime at 100 yards. And when I shot that deer with it, or the elk with it, it went through its shoulder, blew its shoulder up, and then went on through and severed the spine.
Man. And what caliber was that? Oh.
It was devastating.
I believe it.
And it never took a step. That elk dropped in its tracks.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, Bubba, I'm getting ready to crash, Bubba. I'm fading out.
Yeah, well, it's 1 o'clock in the morning here.
Oh, yeah, it's midnight here. Well, I guess I'll catch you tomorrow, huh?
Yep, we'll get together. I'll have guns and scopes and all kinds of stuff out.